And so it's kind of ironic now that this time I had radiation to my skull and I lost a lot of my hair, and it just feels right to let it go. And symbolic of a new beginning and a rebirth. I've never had this before. Like,
I know, what does it feel like?
it feels kind of.
Look how cute her head is.
I mean, people want to hear and see and know truth, and there's just something about when you're given that chance to like, look behind the curtain, you know, and to see, hear, feel the very realness of what this person or character is going through, and you feel connected with them directly.
You guys posted a video during Christmas time. Not that you guys were lying, but it wasn't true. The things you were sharing were like 0.1% of what was actually happening.
Because on social media we see the positive sides of everyone, and so I think a lot of it appeared very positive, you know.
Staying at the house and seeing just how hard it was, and knowing that I couldn't really take that away. I could be there and help for a little bit with kids or help in little ways, but
She said, hard is hard. Like, everybody's going through hard things, bless her heart.
That sometimes people didn't understand just how difficult it may have been for her.
Yeah, there was a lot nobody saw. And I feel lucky that I got to be a part of it. Got to be in it and see her in those vulnerable states.
Yeah.
Just strengthens that love you have for someone.
To the outside, I don't think people just grasped how not easy that was to leave. Pretty much every single day we asked ourselves, we would look at each other and say, wait, we're doing this? You get one chance in life to leave your mark upon it. And so we felt called and said, let's go.
As I sat with her, your mind races to maybe it could be this or that, or how could this be happening? She's young and healthy, and her brother had gone with her to the store when they called to give her the news.
You know, I could tell just kind of by the tone of it that it wasn't good news. As we got to the car, she kind of, you could tell her kind of mood just, was kind of grave and kind of heavy. And so then, she started crying and
falling apart inside, because it's frightening for everybody to have a cancer diagnosis. You could see the shock and concern in her face. That was very hard.
Even though I was devastated for her and I cried tears for her that day, I thought it was going to be okay.
But had peace, feeling like, whatever happened was going to be okay.
The initial diagnosis was heavy, but in a sense it was easy. Collecting information, very external. it was what followed that would be hard. It's like we're sailing along and you have this cancerous tumor of an iceberg just below the surface of the water, and we sailed right over that thing, which wrecked that ship. It's kind of like someone came and picked up this ship, this thing that you had crafted. He picked it up and just smashed it on the floor into pieces. But then looked at you and said, I'm gonna help you build that even bigger and better. And for the next 3 years, it was that. It was bigger and it was better. Getting scans, getting good news. It's until we hit that 4th year.
Emily was very good at, writing and portraying the positive side of things. That sometimes people didn't understand just how difficult it may have been for her. She was, one day she called me and she told me she had thrown up 17 times that day after rounds of radiation. And
Okay, she's really strong spiritually, but her amount of strength physically was really impressive. She endured a lot of pain. I don't think people really saw that.
This was just our normal life. It was normal day to day, being in a hospital bed all day, suffering through pain, excruciating amounts of pain. We have a freezer stocked full of different ice packs because she would be cycling through them all throughout the day for her back, her spine, her tailbone, and her neck, all the different things to give her some pain relief.
Pretty shocking to see someone that you love and admire and look up to, and to see the decline of their body and to realize the fragileness of life.
I remember waking up in the night and Emily was in the kitchen in her wheelchair by the refrigerator, just staring into the fridge. And I said, Emily, what are you doing? And she says, I'm trying to figure out something that I can eat that won't make my stomach hurt. Because she was hungry and then she couldn't eat.
Seeing how severe it was, I'd seen, her with a broken back and with just a withered, skinny, just almost, all bone body.
The last year was incredibly hard. Incredibly hard to watch.
Imagine you're on a hike, you're doing yoga, you're swimming, you're being active, and then the next moment, you're trapped in a wheelchair.
We went swimming one time and she was over on the sidelines, and I remember, she would text me after and she would just say, thanks for coming over, and but I just knew deep down, and we'd have deeper conversations as the night went on, and I said, that was hard for you, huh? And she's like, yeah, it's so hard to be on the sidelines of her kids, and she would try to still be she was such a good parent to them from her bed, but it was from her bed, and she hated that. It was like a bird being held in a cage. She hated at being so trapped.
To help her move.
To help her move. It was hard to help her move. Was it hard watching Mom be in pain?
She loved Colby so much, and she loved her kids so much, and she just wanted to be with them so bad. That's all she wanted.
It's heartbreaking to watch her have to kind of sit on the sidelines, and so I was trying to do whatever I could to help her out, but also make sure she was involved.
When we were in St. George, it was hard to see how much she was not able to do that she would love to do at that point. How much the cancer had affected and taken a toll on her at that point.
I think the thing that was hard was she couldn't come play outside or run and jump or ride bikes with us.
It was really hard to watch her suffer knowing of what her body used to be able to do. She used to be able to walk, and she'd be like, I just want to go walk, and she'd get up and she'd try, and it wouldn't work, and the frustration and the disappointment. But I think losing that sense of control, like of who you were and what you were capable of doing.
It was hard because we couldn't play with her or even see her a lot.
Because she was like sleeping, or because she...
At the hospital.
Oh, when she was at the hospital, that was the hard part, when she'd be gone. Losing complete control of your bodily functions, your speech, your breathing, just feeling so out of control of the littlest things that you used to be in such control of. Letting go of all that. That was not easy.
She would go to the hospital and have pounds drained from her lungs to be able to even breathe. I remember she would Marco Polo me, and you could barely even understand what she was saying because she was being so compressed with the liquid in her lungs. She would surprise us all the time. I think she lived way longer than I thought because of her will and belief to live. And I think it was borrowed time that we got with her because we all wanted her.
We decided to travel north to see and participate in her little sister's wedding. And we were there for a total of 4 days. And 3 of those 4 days, we were in the emergency room at least once. And emergency room visits are typically multiple hour-long visits. And most of it was due to the fluid that was building in her chest, making it so she couldn't breathe. And when she wasn't getting enough oxygen, she couldn't talk. Her speech would be slurred, and that would induce panic, just wondering what's happening to me. What's happening to me?
The hardest thing I think to witness with her suffering was her anxiety. Because if she'd complain like her neck hurt, I could at least try and rub oils on it, get a hot pad, get an ice pack, do things to help her there, and I felt useful in that, and I really enjoyed that because I like to make things better and people better. But the hardest thing to watch was her, the mental struggle with how anxious she was, and the couple times I think I only stayed at the hospital twice with her, but on the last day, I didn't dare sleep. I didn't dare close my eyes and sleep at all because I didn't want her to wake up anxious and feel scared.
Yeah, it was hard for her to be around people and things because it was just, she was so in such a state of, anxiety and pain and discomfort, and it was just so overbearing. And it was sad to see, that she couldn't even have that of, interacting and being able to enjoy that time because of how overbearing that pain and anxiety was for her.
Taking multiple baths every day, every night, throughout the night, going on walks in the middle of the night to breathe in some cool air, some fresh air, to alleviate that stress and alleviate what was happening in her mind and in her body. That night, to let her be able to sleep more because my breathing was really bad. And so I slept in the other room, and I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, I thought I could maybe hear something. And when I went into the room, I realized it was her. It was Emily. She was sobbing. She was on the ground. Her speech was slurred. Couldn't understand what was going on. But then I understood she said she was shaking, so I hooked her up to oxygen so we could get her some more oxygen, so she could start to breathe. And it turns out she had a seizure. And I don't know if it was during the seizure or after in the post-ictal phase, but she got out of the bed, and since she didn't have the strength to walk, she collapsed, and when she collapsed, she broke her hip. Ambulance came, went to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, she stopped breathing. That one was a pretty big blow.
I think on the outside you could see the care and concern you had for each other, Colby and Emily. But I'll never forget, it was really special. I believe it was the night that she was having a seizure, and it wasn't her first seizure. I was letting Colby sleep for a little bit, and I was awake with her, and she started having a seizure and then asked Colby to come in to be with her. And I don't think people saw the connection, and that has always been really special to me, and I don't share it with many people. But Emily wanted so bad to sit on Colby's lap. And so he lifted her off the bed and sat her on his lap, and they put their foreheads together, and just watching them look into each other's eyes, that's something that I treasure, that I don't think a lot of people got to see, was that deep love and connection they had as a married couple. And to see Colby look into her eyes and not see her hairless head or her skinny, gaunt face, but he saw his beautiful bride, and that was so touching to me to see. And I think that's something nobody else got to witness, and I feel really privileged to be able to see that, because I think everybody could see the love that Colby has for Emily, the way he served her, or push her around in the wheelchair in the neighborhood, but nobody got to see when they'd look in each other's eyes and when he was holding her on his lap, because she was so scared, and that was the only thing that calmed her down.
She'd like to be able to have control and to be able to think and logic things. And when she would have the seizures, she would lose that, and that was very frightening to her. I remember one night, she'd been having some really bad nights and was not sleeping well, and Colby was to the point of being sleep deprived. We were there staying at the house, and in the night he came and knocked on the door and asked me to come and be with Emily. As I walked into the room and could see she was just, her bandwidth was just gone. She was so tired and so tired of pain and being stuck in a bed and not being able to do the things. She said things to me like, "Mom, I just want to be able to scrub my own toilets, or I want to be able to hug my kids fully, and I can't. I just want to be able to do just little normal things that other people might take for granted unless they've been to this place before."
But it was really hard to watch her in those states, viewing someone that you love, someone so strong with the total loss of control of their body, shaking where they're not responsive, which then induced a lot of anxiety going to bed, because she had multiple seizures over the course of the next couple of months, and every single time they happened, it was while she was in her sleep. And so that made going to bed kind of tricky for her, because she would often have this buildup of nervousness and anxiety about, is this going to happen again tonight? Is this going to happen again?
I learned in this process that there are many things in life that are much harder than death.
I didn't realize, Colby, until I cared for her for those couple of days, the weight that you were carrying as well, and how draining that would be day in and day out to watch the person that you love suffer in that way, and to care for someone 24/7, and how exhausting it would be. And I just gained a new appreciation for all that both of you were going through. And
before Em passed, we had gone down for spring break and staying at the house and seeing just how hard it was, and knowing that I couldn't really take that away. I could be there and help for a little bit with kids or help in little ways, but I remember that time especially was hard to see.
Everyone has loved ones with cancer, but until you've actually seen it, you don't know.
I don't think anybody, until they've actually been there, can really fully comprehend that.
I think watching her suffer and the strength that her mind had was incredible to watch. And it helps me to feel empowered, because despite the hardship that she's gone through, or the suffering and pain and physical things she faced, she stayed so true to herself, so true to God, so true to her faith, and she never gave up. She won her battle.
So she taught me a lot when she was living, like a lot, like maybe more than anybody. She's still around and she's still here, and I continue to learn from her and with her.
I think there's people who suffer and they become the victim of it, and she was someone who suffered and had so much faith that it was incredible to witness and to and then she would validate that you're having a hard day because you stubbed your toe. Like she had never once thought her hard was harder than anyone else's, and I think that was, incredible to witness, and she's changed my life forever.
Em looked for ways to always be teaching and opportunities to teach ahead of time rather than, in the moment correcting or whatever. So that's something that I think about all the time as well, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest way, is empowering others to try to figure out how to love themselves, how to see their own value, and just stop that, inner critic and that voice that tells you that you're not enough.
Ability to reason stayed so strong to the end of her life, and in that way, I guess she did transcend the cancer. And when it was time to go home, she went home.
It was her vision and goal to empower others. And of course, it's so fitting that her name is found in that word. And it's now our goal to move her work forward by empowering others.
I think her mission is just getting started. I think she is doing so much. I think this is the start for her.